Hey everybody, this is my daily updates channel where I show you guys everything I'm doing to make $500,000 per month using AI, Claude Code, Codex, and other awesome tools. What I'm doing first is some Q&A. I got to jet out of here pretty quick because my hotel is kicking me out, so figured I would dive right into things and then circle back at the end for maybe some strategizing and stuff like that. So the first question is from the lovely Adi Achari. He says, Nick, I have 10 Gmail accounts right now, and I sent like 300 emails yesterday, got 0 replies. And usually I do get some replies, even if they're negative, and I don't think it's the copy because I checked your copywriting course yesterday, rewrote my whole campaign, and eventually I checked my deliverability and realized it tanked. So I put all my emails for warm-up. Now I have another email account that I created yesterday. So should I use that and send at least 10 or maybe 15 emails, or should I wait a week or two for my emails to be ready? Okay, well, I mean, there's a lot of questions buried in there, but yeah, to make a long story short, guy is sending at basically full email capacity. He's sending 300 emails a day. Presumably multi-step sequence means, I don't know, maybe probably half of those are like net new leads, so maybe 150. And he got 0 replies and he's freaking the hell out. This is kind of just a nothing burger, and I wouldn't worry too much about it. When you start sending emails at, a small scale, like 100, 150 per day, net new, you have to understand that you're well within the realm of statistical noise. Like for instance, if you sent out 100 emails and you didn't get a reply, the only information that you would get from that is that today my reply rate is less than 1%. Tomorrow, your reply rate could be 6%. If you average out, 1% and 6% over 2 days, now your total reply rate is 3.5%. So the point I'm making is you can't look at it on a daily basis. Now, in your case, you're worried about your deliverability tanking and saying like, hey, I put them back on warm up. What should I do? Typically, if your deliverability drops, I want to say below 80%, at least as measured by platforms and tools like Instantly, Smart Lead and stuff like that, you're probably not going to be able to get that back. Recommendation to you would be to just get new emails. You talk a little bit later on in the question that you just don't have the money, and I understand that, but, I'll spend money to make money, and this is definitely one of those situations. In general, I'll always have some mailboxes on recurring warm-up, about 20% of my total pool. To avoid situations like this stopping me from sending entirely. And I would think about that just like an added insurance cost or a tax that you must pay. That brings your total mailbox cost to about 1.2x. So anyway, long story short, 1, you're making some statistical determinations a little too quick, cannot look at it on a daily basis. But 2, if your deliverability is indeed screwed, then you should always have about 20% in the tank so that you could swap this out and never be in a situation where you can't send. And that's just because you're also spending you're spending money on a bunch of things that are not, your emails. You're spending money on your Instantly or your Smart Lead or whatever your platform is. You're spending money on the domains. You're spending money on the leads. Like, you don't want to be wasting that money day in and day out by not sending, right? Reaper Kills says, I feel like the title's just at me. Thanks for responding. Yep. Legendary refresh pull. Well, now that I know what that means, I can agree with you. Your passion for helping others succeed really shines through. Thank you, Jeff. For Evanate says, thanks for answering my questions. Going to try and adjust my pitch and my emails. I might ask you to brutally roast my email when I'm done. One thing I'm stuck on with the fixed approach than upsell approach. If I sell my system as a one-off, do I host it for them or hand it off to them so that they run it on their own? If I hand it off, it's clean, but then there's nothing left to charge a retainer for later. Whereas if I keep hosting it, I'm maintaining something I only got paid once for. What's the retainer actually for in your model? And how do you structure the handoff so the upsell still makes sense? Thanks again. Well, in my opinion, the people that host the systems and then sort of hang the guillotine over the client, aka the implication, if you don't pay for my hosting, I'm just going to take the system away from you. The people that do this, while tactical and strategic, are ultimately just not very good salespeople. And they're probably not very good business people either. Because the best way to have somebody continue paying you is not to like weave a guillotine over their head. It is to continue providing a return on their investment, such to the point where even if they could walk away from you, they just don't want to. In 2 universes, imagine universe 1, you host the system, and part of the reason why they continue working with you is just because they're afraid that, if you take it away from them, boom, that's it. That's their system. It's like a website developer that's like hosting for you. Part of the reason you pay for them is obviously you want your website to stay up, but there's both the opportunity for gain, but also the fear of loss. Universe 2, you continue providing an immense amount of value in addition to just hosting the thing. You give them the system every single time. They host it on their own infrastructure, and thus it is their intellectual property. you are incentivized to continue providing. Uh, in which of those two universes do you think you're going to end up a better business person? Probably the second one, because you'll constantly have to be coming up with new ways to improve their business, right? Now, if that doesn't make sense to you and you're like, well, aren't you just shooting yourself in the foot? I think you're probably just not taking the long-term approach. You can sell clients a lot easier when you say things like, hey, this is 100% your intellectual property. It's 100% your systems and infrastructure. So why don't we host it on your stuff? At the end of it, I'll give it to you. You can keep me on board if you want, but you can also, take the SOPs and the documentation and use it to hire somebody else. What I want is I want the best for you. I don't just want the best for me. If you take that approach on the long run, we're talking, I don't know, a year, 2 years, 3 years, you will make way more money than the people that are just nickel and diming, being like, oh my God, if I give them the system, then they'll just run away with it. So my recommendation to you and to anybody that's listening to this is, the obstacle is the way. If something seems difficult, it is usually a benefit to you and the client. If the fork in the road is deliver more value to the client or use tactics and strategies to try and keep them on board without delivering more value, you should try delivering more value. Over the long run, you will almost certainly outperform people that do the opposite. Caswardius says, Nick, what do you think of searching for cold email and lead gen on Upwork instead of automation? Going based off your recommendation that lead gen and speed to lead are the best systems right now based on the RACE framework. Thank you. On Upwork, searching for cold email and lead gen, totally fine. You're going to find a lot of different approaches on it, right? Lead gen might be like Reddit lead gen, might be, I don't know, door-to-door lead gen. You're not going to find exactly the systems that we talk about in Maker School, Maker Zero, and then on this YouTube channel, but that's fine. It's a reasonable way of niching down. As long as you doing keyword-based searches on Upwork, as long as you niching down on Upwork doesn't, I just got another Maker School conversion. Thank you for that. I don't know if you guys heard the cha-ching. I tried to turn that off. As long as you doing this does not interfere with your ability to get out 10 consistent applications every day, assuming that is your goal, then yeah, absolutely. But if you find that you're niching down so much that you just can't find 10 really good jobs on Upwork, then it is obviously being counterproductive. So yeah, in general, you want to focus on systems that either help with reach, acquisition, conversion, or expansion, like that 4-letter RACE acronym. And if you can find them on Upwork and fill up all 10 of your daily slots on Upwork, then you should do so. Nick, you're giving great value every day. Oh, I feel like this is the same question that I answered a few days ago. So I think I'm just going to move forward from that, but thank you. Nick, what do you think are the strongest intent signals for outreach to service businesses doing $1 million a month that the AI can access? Well, there's a lot of information that AI can access nowadays. Now, it's not like AI is going to be the one accessing it. Really, what you're going to do is you're going to have AI drive a scraper, something on Apify, let's say, that scrapes Crunchbase or something. But yeah, I mean, you can access a lot of information. Some examples are you can access who is hiring and for what. And so if you, I don't know, scrape LinkedIn jobs or something like that, Monster or whatever, one of these big, Indeed, one of these big platforms that you put job posts on, that company has a need. They're trying to fill it with a person who has a bunch of skills, but obviously those needs can be fulfilled in a variety of ways. One of them are automation. So one of the common things that we did for 1 Second Copy is we would just look for people that were asking for content writers or marketers. And then we would just pitch those companies with free content. We'd say, hey, we're going to write you a free sample article. And then if you like that sample article, then maybe we can keep working together. And if not, no harm, no foul. This is something that the people you're hiring aren't doing. Might as well just get our foot in the door that way, give you some value up front. And incentivize outcomes. And virtually everybody that we reached out to that responded was like, yeah, this is pretty great. We had a pretty high reply rate on that set of free sample offers too, which was quite beneficial. Same thing with LeftClick. I'd look for people that were hiring. I'd pitch them recruiting. I did a variety of things. But yeah, hiring is probably one of the best intent signals. And you can do that with 3 or 4 really cheap scrapers, which is nice. And then aside from that, fundraising, that's, if you think about it, another form of intent. It's I'm looking for funds because I'm looking to be able to spend money on stuff. That's usually that's the precursor to hiring, to be honest. So yeah, that can be better. That can also be worse. But yeah, and then you don't know if the businesses are doing $1 million a year, but you can kind of expect that if they're hiring, a position at $100,000 a year or something, they're probably making at least $1 million a year. Maxime says, quick question. I've been freelancing in UI and UX for the past year while in school, but the income is inconsistent and honestly not that great. Made around 6K euro in the whole year and I'm kind of tired of it. Thinking of going all in on AI and automation. I don't have much real experience, but I built a few automations myself. My goal is pretty simple, euro 2.5K per month while still in school with around 3 hours a day. I also have some money I can invest into tools, learning, and outreach. If you're starting from where I am, how would you approach it? What would you learn first? What would you sell? And how would you get your first client? Just looking for your honest take on what a realistic path could look like over the next 6 to 12 months. The realistic path here is already buried in this post. 3 hours a day for 2,500 euros a month means that you'd be spending about a little over 91 hours per month to make 2,500 euros. That means on an hourly basis, you're making around 30 euros. So you can fulfill this very easily just by looking for positions that are approximately 30 euros an hour. You can achieve that goal. And I know a lot of people listening are like, well, I don't want to work hourly. And why would you tell Maxime to work hourly? Well, what got you here won't get you there. What got you to 2.5K won't get you to 25K. But it is a better place to be than where he is or you are right now, which is 0K. So don't worry about solving the 25K problem. Let's say hypothetically, if that was your end goal, before you solve the 2.5K problem. Maxime will gain so much experience in the progress from 0 to 2,500 that he'll be able to make a much better set of future decisions to get him from 2.5K to 25K. So yeah, man, that's what I would do. You can absolutely do that like within 30 days, right? We see people do it all the time, especially on Upwork. Upwork's like that's very within like an Upwork job. A lot of them will pay beginners like 30 to 40 US dollars right off the bat, and you can totally do that like today. You can theoretically do that in the next 24 hours. Okay. One more. Oh, you know what? This is pretty long. I don't know if I'll actually be able to do that. That's unfortunate. I really wanted to answer that, but yeah, they're going to kick me out of my hotel, so I think I'll call it there. Okay, guys, that's that for the Q&A side. Just so that you guys know how things are going more generally, pretty stoked. I just finished up the wedding. My girlfriend and I are headed back to our home later today. Unfortunately, the airport that we're flying out of is really small, and there's not much we can do about it, so we had to get a pretty late flight, and yeah, we'll make it back at like 10 p.m. or something like that, maybe 11. That kind of blows because I got a bunch of work I have to bang out when I arrive, so I'll probably be up pretty late, but it is what it is. Just part of the decision that I made to do this and be on this path, and I'm fine with that. On the stats side of things, I will fill y'all in tomorrow, but we have 2,415 members in Maker School, so we've gone up 5 from 2 days ago, or 10 from yesterday. The short-term fluctuations do get averaged out over the long term. And then our MRR as of today, if I just go on the school games leaderboard, one of my favorite things to look at is $269,720. So we're just a few bucks away from reclaiming the number 4 spot and then continuing our ascent up to, well, whatever the freaking ceiling is, $1 million a year. I don't know. Anyway, want to thank you guys for being with me. I got to bang out a quick podcast and get the hell out of here. Have a lovely rest of the day. See y'all tomorrow.